Okay, awesome. So, congratulations, first thing, for completing the collective training. And I just want to share with you, it's been such a joy uh, and an honor to be of service to you. And it's been something quite profound as there's an energy exchange between all of us that just transcends so many different things to where limits and possibilities have really begun to show themselves in pretty incredible ways. So, what I've done is I've put together this little video. Now, this is just, it's a very small template, it's not official. It's to give you an idea as one of the pioneering founders and members of the collective as to what the bigger vision looks like and to where and how we can begin to spread out and help people all around the planet transcend, feel great, take responsibility for their life, join new communities, take control of their health, and also at the same time, learn how to communicate, but most importantly, come from a place of contribution. So in this little educational video, we're going to show you how we can really begin to move away from limited thinking in terms of what's possible for you to be able to live, the life that you're wanting to live. So before we get started, that's really what I'm wanting you to think about. So if you go back to, day 29, and we had you go out into your timeline and you thought about where is it that you're wanting to be? Where are you in 5 years? Are you traveling? Were you helping tons of people? Were you, settling down with a family? Whatever that was, I just want you to imagine that and get that nice and vivid in your mind. Because to take you from here, from this place of feeling whole, responsible, ready to go, wanting to serve, is we've got tracks to run on to help you to get from where you are now to where you want to be, in the next 5 years. And let me just say that, after you've watched this, if for whatever reason what I'm sharing with you, it just isn't for you, like, that's totally cool, we have different ways of being involved with the collective. Certainly inviting people into the program is the best way to contribute. But here we want to take you through and train you up to be a qualified coach who can do this, who can really understand the concepts, who can mentor people, and who can grow people. So it's a training platform. So let me just do a bit of a screen share here and show you what the whole thing looks like, because actually it's more than a training platform. It's actually it's its own little business. So let's truck on forward. Now, this is just a rough example. We will make this nice and polished, for the future. But the collective vision is creating a life of freedom by contributing to others and providing a platform for change. And this really comes about from looking at what today's greatest challenge actually is. And I wanted to talk about this because I think it's really important to understand what's creating so much downtrodden feelings out there. I mean, and you've seen it, you've come through the program, you know how you felt before, you've been able to look at certain things, you see yourself in a different way, get a deeper perspective of who you are. And now here you are going, well, great, I feel great. How do we help other people? Well, it's important to know what's keeping them down. And I wanted to tell you that I think everyone's really following a broken system. So I think the system is broken. It's always been designed, societies, in my opinion, have always been designed to keep emotions in check. It's to keep things civil. But ultimately, there's a system that's designed to function. And when we look at the system in today's society, the system encompasses many different parts. So there's a system for order, there's a system for healthcare, there's a system for employment, there's a system for money. There's a money system or an economy. There are lots of different systems. There's a system for education. And that's the system I want to have a look at, because I believe the system starts there. And that's where I believe the system is failing. Because if you understand where this comes from, then you begin to get a much bigger picture of how we're being educated. Because the only thing that's made you feel different is you've received information that's allowed you to look, behave, act, and see things differently. If you had been taught what we taught you in school, I know for a fact you wouldn't be here now. You wouldn't have done this program. You wouldn't be watching this. You wouldn't have met me. You would have had a different life altogether. However, all things are perfect. So I want to have a quick look at the system and understanding where the system came from. And the education system really goes way back into the industrial age, where before that, there was no schooling. It was all homeschooling. You know, you were taught in school. You were taught at home by your parents, and that's just the way things were. You know, you learnt your father's trade. If you're a girl, you're probably raised to do what women were raised to do back in those days. But then the industrial age came along, and what changed everything was all of a sudden we were getting big factories being built, and employment was coming, and jobs were coming, and all of a sudden people didn't need to work on the farms. They could go off and do whatever they wanted to go and do. They had security, they had certainty of a regular paycheck, and that was really, really appealing. And industries boom, like steel and manufacturing, all these different things, they took off. And so in this space, as a lot of the people went out to work, it created a gap. And the gap was, well, what do we do with the children? And so it was in that space where the schooling system was built. Now, if you think about schooling, and certainly back in the industrial age, I mean, obviously it was very, very strict. You know, you were severely punished if you stepped out of line, and the outcome of the schooling system was to give children an education that would lead them to a predetermined outcome. Now, back in those days, the predetermined outcome, there weren't universities, there weren't career options. You were given education so that you could get a job. And what job was that? Well, you were going to go and work in a factory. Like, that's what the options were in the industrial age. And in fact, if you go back throughout history and you look at all the world's greatest success stories and leaders, the vast majority of them didn't do well at school, because school is a mold that doesn't fit those who think big, typically, right? So if we look at the schooling system back in those days, we were brought up to, you need to do good at school, you need to get good grades, and that way you get a good job. And that was the system that was promoted. So they taught you English, arithmetic, and so on and so forth. And you basically, you know, if you didn't conform, you were punished quite severely back in those days. So the learnings and the anchors that we were taught was, I need to get good grades to get a good job. But no one stopped to consider, especially at such a young age, if we even wanted the job, if we wanted the education, if we wanted to learn about this or that. You know, we're all individuals, and some of us just don't like learning the same things as others. So if you can hear what I'm saying, it's like the system is broken from this point, because we're being forced to learn stuff we don't want to learn, and you can't learn everything. Make sense? So I think the education system really let us down, and I can tell you that nothing has much changed. It's the same thing today. It's, you know, you go to school, get good grades every year. The parents bring the teachers in. Sorry, other way around. The teachers bring the parents in. We sit down, we go through our children's report cards. It's like, yes, well, he could do better here. Yes, he could do better there. I hate going to those things. I used to hate seeing my son get judged so harshly at those reviews. And I've got some friends that are teachers, and every single one of them say the system is so broken. We do our best to make a difference, but the curriculum is all handed down. We have to follow certain mandates. We can't afford to stop and lag behind. Like, they pass or they don't pass, and we've got not much creative input into how we're teaching kids. And if you look at that, you know, kids aren't being taught what they want to learn. They're being taught what they're told to learn. They're not really learning. They're memorizing in most cases. Big difference between memory and learning. And it's the same story. Get good grades. And then when you finish school, you can get a really good job. And then if you don't want to get a good job, you can go to university, you can get a great career. Well, everything's changing. Like, everything's becoming online. It's digital. It's automated. And people are spending, 12 years at school, 6 to 12 years at university for the higher ones, coming out with huge big debts, and then arriving in the workforce with, 6-figure debts and no career to go to because no one's really hiring. And I think the worst thing is that when you get a job, you're surrounded by other people's rules. And I just think it's a shit system. I just think it's really shit. Some of the other schools coming through, like the Steiner schools and things like that, are beginning to move towards taking a child and letting it create in the way that it wants to create. And I think that's amazing. But the point I want to make here is, I think these sausage factories that we call education systems have a large responsibility in why we have such big epidemics of depression, right? So I hope this is sinking in. I hope it makes sense to you. This is not gospel according to Paul or anything like that, but it's certainly my observation, and I'm not alone. And I encourage you to do your own research, because most people are miserable out there. They don't want to be in the jobs they're doing. They hate their jobs. They wake up every morning not wanting to go to work and wondering why they're even going. Well, they're going because they were raised to do that. They were told that's what you should do. And as we learned in the program, rights and wrongs and shoulds are just a waste of time. So if you go to any kind of city, you can see that. You can just see stacks and stacks of people walking around like ants, bumping into things, where life is all about waking up, going to work, coming home, waking up, going to work, coming home, waking up, going to work, coming home. And there's not a great deal of fulfillment out there, and most people are feeling deeply unfulfilled. So this is the problem that I'm seeing in the world. And this is where our vision with the collective is to reach out to as many people as we can and re-educate people and teach them about the value of joining new communities and finding a better way. So in saying that, I want to tell you a bit of a story around, how I got started. And it was the same as I think most people, and that is that when I was depressed, I got to a point where I saw it as a real blessing, because I realized that I wasn't happy because I didn't want what everybody else wanted. And that to me was really kind of special and sacred. And I wanted a different life. I didn't want that routine and that thing which I'd already done. And so I set out and I began to train my reticular activating system on ways to live a different life. And by doing that, I was able to research, look at different people. I studied different people. I studied people like Anthony Robbins. I studied people like Michael Jackson, all these different people that I really looked up to. I was like, well, how did you do that? What was the key? What are the secrets? What's the difference? How do you create a life that's free? And what it came down to for me with a lot of the different mentors that I put myself around was having a good understanding around money. And this thing around money gets so misconstrued, and most people hate money. And I've always found that those that hate it haven't got any. And you can't actually hate money. It's just a piece of paper, right? It's not possible to hate a piece of paper. You can't hate something you haven't first loved. And it's not the hate of money that we have a problem with. It's the lack of understanding about how to use it and how to attract it and what it's for. You see, money is just a currency. It's just a form of energy that passes between people as a representation of what is valued. So if you give me a lollipop, there's not much value in that. So I'm not going to give you much money for it. However, if you change my life dramatically and help me to live a life of complete freedom, joy, travel, full relationships. Well, that's really valuable, and I will pay you more money for that. And that's something that I learnt from a mentor of mine when it came to, the value of what money's about. Nothing to do with the paper or the electronic transfers or the coins. It's a measurement of service. And the true way to attract a lot of money is to not be focused on the money. For the first thing, is to be focused on how many people you can be of service to. So our vision here is to be of service to people all around the planet and to help them lead happy, fulfilling lives. We're just going to put a business model underneath it so that we're not doing things haphazardly and bumping into trees and all that kind of crazy things. So I want to share with you quickly a little process called the cash flow quadrant. And this was brought to life by a guy called Robert Kiyosaki. If you haven't read his book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I recommend it. It's the story of how one man was raised by his father, who was a school teacher, who he called his poor dad. And his best friend had a father who was a multi-billionaire, who he called his rich dad. And his poor dad would teach him things like, you can see here in the, it's got the E thing here, the E, employee. You need to get a good job, get good grades, and that way you can retire, pay a house, get a savings fund, and you'll be happy. And this is what his poor dad would teach him, was all about being an employee. Well, what Robert noticed is that while his father was teaching this, he noticed how miserable his dad was. His dad didn't like his job. His dad didn't have any money. He was always, kind of struggling to pay the mortgage off and complaining about it. And he could see that his father was heading for some kind of retirement by the age of 65 and 70. And at that point, he wasn't going to be able to live a very fulfilled life. Whereas his rich dad was talking about this section down here called the investor stage, where he would invest into things and he would have money actually work for him. He wouldn't work for money. And so the journey of this cash flow quadrant is moving from here to becoming an investor, where you invest into things and the investments earn you money. It's what's called true residual income. So most of you will be here at what's called an employee stage. You've got a job, maybe you love it, maybe you don't. But at the end of the day, if you don't go to work, you don't get paid. So we have what's called leverage, although there's no leverage here. Now, the next legitimate step is to move from being an employee to being self-employed. Well, self-employed is where you own a job, right? And you'll see a lot of people do this. It's like they move from, say, in hospitality, they work really hard in hospitality, then all of a sudden they open up a bar. But what happens is when you're self-employed, you still kind of got a job. In fact, you tend to do more because you're trying to get this pub to work. You're hiring everybody, you're pouring beer, you're doing cleanup at the end of the night, you're doing the books, you're doing the accounts, you're doing the ordering. And all of a sudden, you're kind of even busier than you were up here, probably getting paid less than what you did in the job after all expenses. And it's still the same thing because you still have to show up to get paid. So it's not freedom. In most cases, it probably feels better than this because you get to call the shots. But this is usually a lot easier, and usually the pay is better, surprisingly. Self-employed people generally aren't paid that well. You might be surprised. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. So the next section is what's called a business owner. And that's a bit different. That's where you own a system. So you build a system that operates without you. In other words, you don't have to go to work for that to work. So you can go away for 2 months at a time, or 3 months at a time, or 6 months at a time, come back, and your business is still operating because you built a system. And a great example of a system is McDonald's. It works. The owner does not need to show up to make the hamburger, right? That's a system. So business owners is the next. You get paid, and you can walk away, and you can travel, do what you want because you have a system. Now, business owners still take a part in their system, I'm sure. But that's the next stage. And then, like we said, moving down is coming to what's called the investor stage, where basically you use the money that you've made from your business and you invest it into other either businesses or real estate or whatever, and those things make you money. So you're finally here, you're learning how to use money to make money. Whereas with here, you were trading time for money, you had systems making you money, and here you have money making you money. So this is a very short slide. I recommend the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a must-have if you're wanting to create a life of independence and freedom. It's just one of those books that starts you on the journey. It's really easy to read, and I can't recommend it, highly enough. So we're going to take you on a journey from here, and we're going to take you from here, and we're going to get you to here. We're going to get you to build a system where you can begin to help other people and have those people help to create an income for you by then helping people, which we're going to touch on shortly. So some of the traditional business types, like the old business model that we looked at, were typical shops, like it's a brick and mortar shop, like a hardware store or fish and chip shop, right? Where basically the bottom line is that 95% of these things fail. Within the first 5 years, they go under. Very expensive to start up. Some of them are $250,000 plus. You got a bank loan for the building, all that kind of stuff. Then there's the inventory. You've got the the stock to put in there. You've got rent to pay. You've got employees. You've got insurances. You've got liabilities. All those kind of things. And also too, you're in a very small market, which means your customer base is limited. It's always great to watch those small shops pop up randomly, I find, in your local towns. And I always wonder, I was like, have they done their research, or is this one of those ideas they cracked open with a beer and didn't actually think about what they were doing? And, give it a year or two and you can soon see, how things are going. And, they usually do very long days. It's not just when you're at work. It's all the stuff that gets done after hours, the counting and the banking, all that kind of stuff. And in most cases, it's all to make, got here 75 to 150K a year, but in a lot of cases, it's a lot smaller than that. So that's traditional. I mean, this is not a bad income, but you can see to get there, it's huge. It's really, really a lot of money. It's like 300 odd K plus rent to get started. The other type of business systems are things called franchises. And franchises are, as you would know, basically you're purchasing a system off of that. So if I want to build a business and I want a system that already works, I don't want to have to think about systems. I don't want to have to create them. I just want to buy a system. Then I'm going to buy a McDonald's because the system is already there, right? So I can take a McDonald's store anywhere in the world and I can walk into any single one of them and they all operate exactly the same way. All the chips are cooked for the same amount of time. The oil temperature is exactly the same. Everything is the same. That's why when you go to McDonald's, the thing is the same wherever you go because it's a system that works. If you want to find a shitty business, you'll see shitty systems. And I'm sure you've worked in places that have shitty systems, right? So franchises are fantastic, of course, though. I mean, everything comes with a price. And the last I heard, a McDonald's franchise was around about $1 million. So it's not ideal for startups. It's very expensive, but however, they do work and it is a valid business type. And you know what? Bill Gates wasn't kidding when he said that if your business is not on the internet, then your business will be out of business. Now, obviously, things like Macca's might be an exclusion there, but it's the online world that we want to talk to you about as we go through, because the system that we've built for you, it's all online. You come through, done an online program, it can be done anywhere in the world as long as you've got a smartphone or a computer with a camera. Very easy to use. You've had amazing results for yourself. And we've engineered this to be simple because, as always, it's the simple things that work. Now, we do have a bit of work to go. We've still got to make a few more systems. You are what we call a pioneer if you're watching this video. And we do want to work with you quite closely to get the systems right. We need you to go through and make sure everything's working, but more on that as we go through. So we're going to take you into the world of online systems. But first is we're going to have a look at what makes a successful business. Now, the first thing is, it has to be needed. So I just want you to think about what you've been through already. Are there others out there that need this? Does this provide high value? In other words, did you have amazing experiences that you value? Did it deliver outstanding results? Is this unique and stands out from any other competition? Can we build a tribe mentality? And is this easy to use? Because if we can check all those off, then we have a successful business. So let me talk to you about here the contribution pathway, and then I'm going to jump right in and share with you the training platform and the business model just in brief. It obviously warrants a conversation as well. So the contribution pathway, it goes like this. We want to be successful, not because we focus on the money, but because we help others. We want the success, the business, the money and the trappings of it to be a side effect or a reflection of how many others we've been able to serve, to help. There's a fundamental law in the universe that you can't trick or fool or pull the wool over on that gives us everything we need if we will only have the courage to help others get what they want first. It's the contribution pathway, and the bottom line is that once you understand it or get a glimpse into it, it becomes a splinter in your mind. You can't just forget about it. It's in your soul, your nature. It's at the core of who we are. In our own divine nature, we are born to contribute, to give life, and to help others grow. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you a quick little 5-minute video on contribution, and it comes from a book called The Go-Giver, and another book that I'm recommending that you get along the journey. And in fact, if we work together, it's kind of a must-have. So this was a great little review that I found on YouTube, and it really explains it quite well. So sit back, check this out. It goes for 5 minutes, and then we'll jump into the training plan on how everything that we're doing together is going to work. So enjoy this.
Meet Joe, an ambitious young man who yearns for success. Sound familiar? Maybe you know someone like Joe. He's aggressive, relatively successful, and determined to reach the top. A real go-getter. But something is missing. Something that has caused him to be not nearly as financially successful and internally fulfilled as he knows he could be. One day, Joe is fortunate to be introduced to a man named Pindar, known by some of the most highly successful people in the world simply as the chairman. Over the next week, Joe meets some of Pindar's former proteges, who are extremely financially and personally successful. With Joe, they share the 5 laws of stratospheric success. They explain to Joe that if used together, these somewhat counterintuitive 5 laws will lead him to huge success, as it did for them. It only makes sense because these are the same laws people have used in order to be successful in any market-based economy. The law of value. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. The law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. The law of influence. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. The law of authenticity. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. The law of receptivity. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. But like any ambitious young man, Joe first challenges these laws before applying them. The law of value, he thinks. This sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. That sounds reasonable. After all, how does one give more in value than they take in payment and still make a profit? How is value measured? Joe learns that while price is a set dollar figure and finite, value is the relative worth or desirability of a thing to the end user or beholder. So, in other words, what is it about this product or service that brings so much value that a person will willingly exchange their money for it and be ecstatic about it? For example, if Joe hired an accountant to do his tax returns and she charges him $1,000 for her fee or price, when she saves him $5,000 in taxes hours of work and provides peace of mind and security that it was done correctly, she gives Joe value far beyond the $1,000. She gives Joe more in value than she took in payment. Joe feels terrific about it, and the accountant makes a very healthy profit. Joe learns quickly the kind of relationship he wants to have with anyone with whom he does business. He discovers how to shift from getting to giving, constantly and consistently providing value to others. This new focus allows Joe to experience a fulfilling way to live while profiting financially as well. Moving from an I or me focus to an other focus is one of the most profitable things a person, especially ambitious Joe, can ever do. Here's the thing. Money is an echo of value. It's the thunder to value's lightning. In other words, value comes first, and the money is simply the natural and direct result of the value provided. The law of value proves to be a good start for Joe, but it's only a start. As important as it is, it represents only his potential income. But tying together the other four laws with the first creates the real transformation for Joe. Things improve rapidly. Making money appears effortless, and the returns, excitingly unexpected. These laws can do the same for you, just as they did for Joe and for so many of today's hugely successful leaders, entrepreneurs, and salespeople. Join Joe, along with his mentors, Pindar, Ernesto, Nicole, Sam, Deborah, Rachel, and of course, Gus, and be delighted by this quick, easy-to-read story about a powerful business idea. Actually, a powerful life idea. Enter your name below to receive the first chapter of The Go-Giver.
So, wow, I was in that for a while, and that's you would have captured that and seen that, and you would have recognized we did the law of receptivity. So we covered reception in the program, and we also did authenticity. Both of those were inspired from this particular book when I put the program together. So it's been a wonderful thing. There's the link there. Maybe just pause the video and copy it, and that you should be able to get your free chapter down there. So let's go back. We'll go back to the slides, and we'll truck on. Awesome. Click it away. Okay, cool. So remembering the collective vision is creating a platform that helps people globally move beyond depression into a life of freedom, joy, and happiness with a conscious awareness of who they are and how to create. So here's the business model in a very, very simplified process. So we invite people to join the collective program, and we watch and we support them in their 30-day journey, just like you've been through yourself. The system will then invite them to watch a presentation such as this one here, where once they've finished the 30 days, they'll be able to watch this as well, or a more updated version. And what you'll see is, on average, 1 in 10 will want to move forward onto the next step. Well, actually, that's not true. It's probably higher. If 10 people like yourself are watching this, the majority of them will want to move on to the next step. But it just sort of drops down to see who actually will. And as always, we're just here to serve the ones that want to be served. So we've made the numbers quite low. It could be probably more like 3 or 4, but let's just say that it's 1 for the case of this example. Now, we're going to teach you how to use social media. That's where we start with the collective program, and then moving on to this part here, which is the collective vision. So let me show you the training model. The first thing is, let me just jump off here again, and we'll go to another screen share. We'll go to desktop. So the first thing that we have put aside for you is we've built a membership area which is going to train you exactly on all the topics that you've been through in the collective program. So in this training module, we do have to make a few adjustments to it, but we have here, you can see the coaching system. So in the coaching system, we take you through and we break down every single topic, as you can see here. And we talk about it on video here, and we also teach you or training you in how to have the same conversations, how you can understand all these different topics at a much deeper level so that you're in a position to be able to teach them moving forward. And as you see, we'll put a little thing on, push play. There we go.
Paul Newton here. I wanted to say g'day. And
yeah, g'day. So you can go through and you can watch all these training videos on every single topic, because it's obviously really important that you understand how they work. Now, to give you a background on them, we've also included all the original videos that we did when the program was being watched. So you can see here, this is me talking about the reticular activating system. Again, it's just a lot more knowledge for you. Now, obviously the program, we go live now. I do the live videos, but we want to get you trained up so that you can run your own programs. That's the ultimate goal, is to turn you into an absolute coach. Now, some of these here will be removed, but you can see here we have a sales training system for you. So we're going to really take you up a level with your communication skills, and we're going to teach you how to communicate at such a masterful level where when you're speaking to people around everything, you're going to have them understand not just what you're saying, but they're going to be very clear on what it is that they need to do and who they need to become. So we're going to really raise your standards as a communicator as part of that, that training. And then down here, you can see we've got some other online trainings. We're going to take you through a whole lot of back-end stuff that teaches you all about internet marketing and all that kind of cool stuff too. Now, on top of this, we've also got a specialized training for you, which we're going to bring together in the same membership site. And we're going to give you an advanced social media training that's going to teach you how to basically run Facebook like a business. So we do that. We run ads with our accounts, because the way to reach people online is through advertising. And we're giving you here a business, and businesses require new customers, and that's done through advertising. As we kind of move through the different trainings, you've got, you'll have advertising, but you'll also have just your word of mouth. And we've got some great templates for you to use, where you can just basically post them on your Facebook wall to attract people. But this is where the vision comes in, because this is all about you wanting to reach out and touch as many people as possible, so that we can begin to attract people as they come through. In the early stages, we'll have everything done for you. You just have to copy it, paste it, and you'll be having people to talk to all day long, which is pretty exciting. So those are that's the two training sites. We will bring them together. It will be under one little banner, under the I'm the Change and the Collective. It will be there for you to move through and to teach yourself everything on. Let's bring up the slideshow. Oh, whoopsies. Try again. Okay, here we go. So, so here's how this works, is that essentially, this is an advertising campaign that we did. You see, a lot of people will donate to charities, and that's wonderful, but we want to take more control over it than that. And we want to really learn how to help a lot of people. So to do that, we show you how to run effective social media campaigns. So you can see here in red, $4.22. That's what it costs myself to bring people onto a very similar program for females. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you spend $25 a week on reaching out to other people, that you'll have around 6 people to talk to. And over the month, that adds up to around 24 people that you can talk to, right? And out of those 24 people, you'll have around 5 or 10 people that will do the collective program, because, you know, not everyone's ready for it. Some people don't want to be helped yet. So we're not here to help. You can't help everybody. It's just the ones that want to be helped. So those are the basic numbers, 5 to 10 people. Now, how we move on from here is that we take those 10 people and we put them into the collective program. And then just like you are right now, you know, some of them will want to come through and they want to join the collective vision, and they're going to want to help reach out and help many more people. So right now, just check in with yourself and think, well, you know what, this is what I wanted to do. How can I do this? And I can tell you from experience, almost everybody that completes the collective program wants to keep going. They want to reach out. They want to help more people. They want to travel. They want to find new ways of earning an income. And this is the vision that we have, and this is how we do that. Obviously, from here, you know, our one person or our 2 or 3 people that have come through the program that are going to jump onto this stage here, they're then going to move on and they're going to help others do the same thing. And the process just keeps on repeating. And it's by doing this that we know that we're going to be able to reach a global audience, nationally first and then globally, just simply by helping people to move through the 30-day collective program, by having more people in there contributing, more coaches in there who are able to understand what's going on, monitor. This is the vision. This is how we're going to reach out. It's through empowerment, it's through contribution, and it's through being authentic, and it's by giving way more value than we take in payment. And by now you've realized you've come through this program and it's cost you nothing. And look how much value we've given you. So moving forward, we now have to get to that point where we're going to put you into the program, where we are now going to take you, assuming you want to take this journey with us and join and build this movement of people all around the planet to give you an education, not just in how to become a great coach and an outstanding human, but we've got to educate you on basic business and give you the tools and the platform to move forward so that you can grow a staggeringly awesome life. So here it goes. Ready? So we start off with organic posts on Facebook and paid ads. And then that brings people into the program. And then obviously they come into the collective vision. And it just kind of multiplies from there. So what I'm going to do with you here is just share with you very, very briefly how this works, the education fees that are included, but also to how you can begin to build a really substantial income for yourself and in a relatively quick period of time. So the first thing is that to remember that the collective program has the same effect on others as it's had on you. You just let them do the program, and those who want to join the vision will show up. The collective program does the work for you. And later on down the track, as you build up your confidence and your strength, you can start to hold your own. Now, this is a scalable system. So that means that if we can find one visionary a month, I can find 2. Now, if I can help 2 people and earn twice as much, then we're going to show you how just 2 people a month is equivalent to around $900 a week for you. So I just want you to sink that in. Helping 2 people equates to $900 a week. Insane, right? So here's the maths. Hopefully these slides are in the right order. So for the training, to go through everything with us it's $2,500. And that's where we take you through the social media training. We teach you to become a coach and everything else that we do. Supporting you, growing with you, and teaching you how to grow a business well into the future to get you to start to live that year 5 plan, right? That's the travel, the freedom, all those kind of things. But here's where it gets really interesting, is that once you get to the point of bringing on new people, each new collective visionary that you bring on that pays $2,500, you earn $1,900. Does that make sense? So the vast majority of that is for you to begin to grow your business, to grow your freedom, and to build a life based on contribution and helping others. So you're going to be able to reach out and help other people have the same experience that you're having right now and begin to move forward. So if one new visionary joins us each month, then that's an average weekly wage for you of around $438. So put this in perspective. 10 people a month join the collective program. 1 of them will come out the other end. These are numbers that I know for sure. And voila, you're beginning to earn yourself an income. And as you grow that, then, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can see. So now we will have payment plans for those who need it. Not everyone's going to have that kind of money, but we do have payment plans available to help them get started. But it's important that you understand that this is a commitment moving forwards, first and foremost, to help yourself grow, right? This is to help yourself to grow and to build a successful business. And there's so many more things that we can't wait to teach you and share with you. So I want to thank you so much for spending the last 30 days with us. I want to thank you so much for everything that you've put into this. And I'm excited to speak to you around this, because from here, we're going to come back and we're men uniting and finding a way to help others. And the best thing that we can do is give people new communities for growth, for education, and a way for them to earn well into the future to provide for their families and live a life of complete freedom and joy. So now that you've watched this, friend, then I look forward to touching base with you, having a chat, getting some feedback from you, and seeing where we go to from here.